And when the destructor is called, the destructor function is called automatically when the object goes out of scope. That means scope means let's a function scope, a function's body. It is one starting from one curly braces to another curly braces. That is the scope of the that function or that loop you can call. And so when the function ends, when the destructor is called, okay, the function ends, the program ends, okay, and the block containing local variable ends. That means let a function, there is a function and it has some local variables, okay. When the curly braces ends, you have to remember that when the curly braces ends, the function will end, the program will end, and the block also ends. And last, what you have to remember, there is an operator like new operator, there is a delete operator, okay. Like new operator, we are creating some memory space, and in delete operator we are deleting that space, okay. As object is a memory space, so delete operator will free that space, or we are deallocating that space or destroying that space, okay. And how we declare a destructor? The name should begin with a tilde sign, okay. Like constructor, the name is equals to your class name. But what is the difference between constructor and destructor syntax? Is that in the destructor there is a tilde sign, okay, and the name is equals to class name. Tilde sign is the difference between the constructor and destructor. If you have to differentiate from the look wise, from the syntax wise, then you have to see the tilde symbol. If a function the same as the class name but it has a tilde symbol follows by the function name, then it is a destructor. It must be a destructor, okay. And there cannot be more than one destructor in a class, okay. That means a destructor, as was seen previously, more than one constructor can be possible in a class, or the constructor can be overloaded. But in a class, a destructor cannot be overloaded, or you cannot write two destructors for a single class. Because what is the reason? Because it doesn't have any type of parameter, it does not take any type of arguments, or it has no return type, or you can call it doesn't return anything, any value, okay. As it destroys, what it will return, okay. We're freeing some space. If there is something, then we can return that value or that thing, or if there is nothing also, you can return some garbage value. But if that space is not there, okay, that space is free, there is no space in the memory, or there is no space named as object 1, okay. So what will return? Unlike constructor that can have parameter, destructor doesn't allow any parameter, and they don't have any return type. Just like constructor also have no return type, but it returns value. Constructor returns value, but return type and returns value is both are different thing, okay. And when you don't specify any destructor in a class, compiler generates a default destructor and insert it into your code automatically, okay. That means when you close the class program, or you have written a class program, after executing that, okay, if you are writing, or after the void main, after the closing braces of void main, if you are writing another object, that doesn't mean anything, okay. So that point of time, when you are ending the curly braces of a void main, the program automatically generates a destructor, okay. If after the curly braces you will call that object, let object 1.display, you will write, then it will display an error, okay. If there is, yes, object 1 is present, but the scope is inside the main function, when the scope ends, the main function scope ends, then the destructor automatically called itself. Okay, and let's see an example. Okay, and here is the syntax, tilde symbol, and your class name is your destructor, and here is one program. It is same as your constructor. In a destructor program also you can write more than one constructor, but one destructor can free all the objects. Okay, all the objects of that class. Okay, if we are using two classes, one is hello world 1 and one is hello world 2, and we are using, or we are creating the destructor, we are generate a function, the destructor of for hello world 1, then it will delete all the objects of hello world 1 class, but not objects of hello world 2. Okay, and so a constructor, here is the constructor, one default constructor, and here is the destructor. As you can see, we are using a tilde symbol here. So from the tilde symbol you can recognize that this function is a destructor. And then there is a display function. So first object is created, hello world object. Okay, let hello world class name, our object is an object of the class hello world. Then member function is called, this will display, and it again return 0, it end main, then return 0. So output is your constructor called, and after the constructor call, it automatically called this constructor. It automatically called this default constructor, and as you can see, we are not calling any type of destructor here. We are calling a display function through this object. And when the destructor, once the destructor is called, see, after these curly braces, the destructor is automatically called. Okay, or the compiler creates in one destructor, but here we are writing a specific destructor for a specific class. Okay, and if after this also that destructor will be called. Okay, here there is no specific syntax of calling a destructor, as there is a syntax like if object we pass some values, then it will call a parameterized constructor. If we will pass an object as argument, then it will call copy constructor, and we have to define according to that. But in the destructor we don't need to call destructor in the main function, but we have to define a destructor in your program. Okay, so see, after the object display called return 0 and this curly braces enters, see, after entering into the curly braces, when this curly braces is executed, then this destructor will called automatically. Compiler will call. If it is not there, there is no problem. But if you write this, then this hello world destructor will be called, and this line will be executed, and it will display in your output that destructor is called. Okay, and after that, after this curly braces, if you will write object1 dot display, it has no meaning. Okay, this is the use of destructor in a program, and this is all about your destructor. Thank you.